Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness.
Bobby Mascia is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
I'm excited to have you on. Like I said, we've been talking, Luch and I, about getting you on in over the past couple of weeks, and talking a lot about the business doctor and what she can bring to this podcast and what she has to share to the world. And I think that as we start to peel back the layer of the onion, it's super interesting stuff. You came from Baltimore. You're now a professor at 3 different universities, and you have this story that you came from the bottom and you rose to the top. I'd love for you to just, take us back a little bit and in your own words, give us an idea what your story looks like.
Absolutely. So again, for those that don't know, I'm Dr. Tammira Lucas. I am a business professor, but I'm also the CEO of the Cowork, which is the largest Black women-owned coworking space in the United States, and we provide on-site babysitting services. And so my story does begin in Baltimore. I'm one of 5. I grew up literally the Baltimore that you all saw on CNN and all of the news stations when the riots happened. That is my community. And so growing up in a community like that, the odds of you being anything besides the product of your environment is always against you, especially being raised by a single mother who was living below the poverty level. Now, growing up for me in Baltimore was fun. I don't care what story people paint about Baltimore. Baltimore is a place where it truly builds grit and perseverance inside of people. But I always knew that I was different than my family. I wanted more. Not that they did not want more, but I knew that I was actually going to strive for better.
That's interesting because, I think, a lot of people that we talk to, most of the successful people that come on are entrepreneurs, are business owners. The biggest thing that they kind of attribute their success to is the actions that they've took, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who tell stories, they don't execute, they don't take action. And it's the difference of talking the talk or walking the walk. And you said you were different than the family that you were surrounded with. And usually those people are the ones that kind of want to keep you where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about the environment of the people that were around you and how you thought differently and how did you work through some of that?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. The people around me just lived the status quo, right? They said that they wanted more, but no one was actually doing anything to have more. And for me, I'm a Capricorn. I believe in zodiac. So I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it and how I want to do it, right? You tell me I can't do something, that is going to give me the fire to actually do it. And I think that with my vision of life, a lot of people were just like, yeah, that's not going to happen, or you can't do that, or they couldn't see the possibilities. And I was just like, okay, watch and learn. And my
I'm on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius, so I kind of get you. I'm right there with you.
You are like a little bit lot crazy like me. I always say education was my key out of the hood, and I knew that would get me far. And so I'm the first person in my family to graduate with a college degree, and I'm the only person in my family with a doctorate degree, which were all personal goal. Well, my doctorate was a personal goal for me. It wasn't a career thing for me at the time that I was getting it. And so I just literally leaned on those that I could see doing a lot more, whether that was people on TV, people that I just, know stories of, my professors. I just followed their journey and took bits and pieces from them and said, oh, I want to do this, or I see what you did to overcome this obstacle, and I'm going to do the same.
How old were you when you started to get that focus and that grit? I mean, were you a young kid? You were like, you know what? I got to pay attention to my studies. I got to stick my head in the books. I really have to be focused on being that student. Did it evolve into that, later in life for you? What did that look like?
I was always like that. I think middle school was a very pivotal moment for me. I think that was when my family from household income level was at the lowest of all. And while everyone was outside playing, I was in the house reading encyclopedias. I was serious about, just staying focused and making sure that I achieved the unthinkable, honestly.
One of the topics that's really hot right now in the political environment and the economic environment is essentially the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer, and that disparity is growing. And this has been a topic of conversation for, I would say, probably since COVID really has that disparity grown and become even more greater. And, as you start to think about your ability to break that traditional path that people from your neighborhood were kind of stuck in, what are some of the attributes that you look for in people? Because I know you look for other people and try to help them grow as well. What are the things that you're looking for to help them break out of attributes that they have, and how do you break them out of that?
So it's the mindset, honestly, right? Like you can learn technical skills on how to do certain things. Like I can teach you what you need to start a business, or I can teach you how to market this. But none of that is going to matter if your mindset is not set on growth. And if your mindset is set on, well, this obstacle is going to happen. We're all going to have challenges in our lives, right? And so it's how you think through and utilize critical thinking skills, which is absolutely important and something that they're not teaching in K through 12. And so we have all of these adults that don't know how to use critical thinking skills. And then they have ChatGPT, which is insane. But it's really the mindset of things. Like my mindset was, yeah, I'm from here, but this is not going to dictate who I am, and it's not going to define who I am, right? It's also not going to be the story that I always lead for. And it's definitely not my daughter's story. Like she can't relate to my story at all. And so for me, it was more about utilizing the history, our rich history, to understand how did my ancestors overcome some of the things that they did. And they didn't have as much access to the things that we have access to, right? And so if they could do it, we can absolutely positively do it, but it takes the mindset to do that. And also understanding that wealth is bigger than making $1 million in business. Because I can spend $1 million in probably like a millisecond, honestly. Takes me not long to spend $1 million. But it's really, how do I maintain that, and how do I have the freedom to do the things that I want to do in life while maintaining wealth? So I think it's truly like it lies in the mindset of things.
Now, do you think about the abundance mindset versus the fixed mindset? Is that part of the mindset that you carry? Is it something that you go, there's always more money to be made? Or do you look diligently in terms of, I could spend it, but I have to really kind of make sure that I mind my P's and my Q's and I stay with the program?
So I never lived in a box. That's number one. Like that's not me at all. Like totally outside of the.
You don't come off as that.
Not at all. But I will say a few things. Wealth to me is not, and success to me is not directly correlated with money. It is honestly the freedom that I have to do the things that I desire to do when I desire to do those things, right? Yes, we need money to do those things, but I don't chase the dollar. I chase the impact, and I chase whatever my desire is at the time. Like I am the person that will wake up today and say, I want to be a pilot, and I'll actually go and do everything I need to do to be a pilot, right? And that's my success, right? Like I'm actually in the phase of my life of like, okay, I've done all of this. What's next? Like what is next for me? And I don't know what that is outside of laying on the beach and relaxing 90% of the time.
So I want to go back to, the beginning of your story, because I'd love to hear how what was first became first. What was the first endeavor? What was the first thing that kind of kickstarted you from, I'm a student, I got my PhD, and now I'm starting to set my eyes and my focus on this successful, like you said, it doesn't have to be money. It could be, success was college, success was PhD. Then, where did your entrepreneurial journey start?
So actually, my entrepreneurial journey started while I was in college. And it was a partnership with one of my college friends. We started a kids' mobile spa. I didn't even have kids at the time, but I knew that they were lucrative. Like, I was literally chasing the money then. Like, I just wanted to make extra money while I was in college. And we did extremely well, like very well. It is actually bizarre on how much money people spend on their kids, especially for like birthdays. Like, it's insane.
Kids and
Um,
dogs.
Kids and dogs, correct. If you want to be successful in business, do something around kids and dogs. Absolutely. And we did very well. She was a mother and she struggled a lot with balancing everything, her job, our business, school, motherhood. And so when I graduated college, I then had my daughter and we created custom kids accessories. And I wasn't passionate about that. I honestly did. It was a hobby that turned into a business. But what I was passionate about, which was the first thing I would say, like really stuck, and I still am in business today, was impacting mom entrepreneurs and teaching them how to start, sustain, and grow businesses, specifically in underserved communities, because I knew that we as moms have a lot of talent. And nobody 11 years ago was investing. One, they weren't really investing in women entrepreneurs, but they definitely wasn't investing in mom
Mom
entrepreneurs.
entrepreneurs. Yep.
And so we started an organization called Moms as Entrepreneurs, which is still exists today. And we support mom entrepreneurs in helping them to start, sustain, and scale their businesses to build generational wealth. And that was the first time that I truly found what I was passionate about and something that I love. And that was chasing impact and not chasing, the monies out of things.
So what are some of the things that you look at when you look at mom entrepreneurs and their struggles? I'm sure there are some misconceptions in terms of what moms deal with, and then there's the reality. How do you break through some of the struggles of balancing the duties of a CEO entrepreneur and the duties of mom and supporter?
Understanding that perfect doesn't exist and that you have to invest in yourself in order to set your kids up. My daughter is a gymnast and she's at gymnastics 5 days a week for about 4 or 5 hours a day. And then the weekends we're at gymnastics meet. But I realized a long time ago that I'm building so that she doesn't have to work as hard as I do. And so I tell my moms, you may not be able to make it to every basketball game, every gymnastics meet. It's okay, right? Like that mom guilt is something that really hinders how you balance. And you'll never have full balance. Something that's going to get way more time and energy than some things, depending on the periods. And I think when we can break through at that point, they have everything else. Like they have the talent, they have the grit, but it's really getting them over that mom guilt and understanding how to build community and how to really start investing in their dreams. Because we started the organization truly based on moms giving up on their dreams because they were investing in their kids and not themselves.
That's interesting because we started the story about the people around you that maybe don't help you get to the next level. They hold you back, preconceived notions that you are who you are. I am who I am. We are the same. You should not excel. How much, it sounds like, and I see it from my wife, right? It's all the moms who maybe don't work around her. And it's that competition or that feeling like she can do all of the events. She can be at every mom's event, every parent event. The pressures of just your peer group. How do you get around that? Because it's one thing to break free and go, I got to get out of here and I'm just going to focus on succeeding. It's another thing to start looking at your kid and it becomes like this emotional separation from your community again. How do you deal with that?
So if I can curse on here, you have to not give a fuck about what people think and how people perceive you, including your kids sometimes, right? At the end of the day, I think it's a mutual understanding. My daughter was raised in entrepreneurship. My husband and I both are entrepreneurs. And so I took her along that journey with me so that she can see this is what I'm actually doing when I'm not showing up at this dance recital, which I absolutely hate going to dance recitals, like really.
They are long. They're
I
arduous.
would prefer not to go. This is what I'm doing, right? But also what I learned, and this was like kind of like later in my journey, while I didn't have like a huge support system in a sense internally within my family, I've had support systems in my family, but not a huge one. We had to build community outside of that, right? So if I can't show up at a performance or a game or whatever, I can send somebody else there in my place. And just having that like understanding, I don't care what the other mothers at my daughter's school or gymnastics think at all. Like I am the person that truly don't give a after, right? And I try to preach and teach that to other moms because you are correct. We have social media, social groups has created these like social norms. And it's just like, why? Like, why do they actually exist? I'm not a perfect mother. And I
Well, it's the
know that.
battle of perfection. It's I have to be that perfect person, that perfect mom, that perfect dad, that perfect everything, because that's the image that we get in small little snippets of
On social media, and perfect
video.
doesn't exist. And this is why I tell people all the time, if you want the authentic like journey of someone, follow me, because I'm gonna show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm gonna tell you all of the good, the bad, and the ugly that goes along with it. Like perfect doesn't exist, even when it comes down to how you physically look, right? Having filters on your picture, like these things drive me crazy because it's just like, embrace who you are, because I embrace who I am. I love who I am. I'm not changing for any. Like, I literally am the definition of do not give a F. Okay. Like, I am.
I think about my kids, right? And I've had this conversation with a number of people who are parents, fathers, mothers. And, it's about raising kids as an entrepreneur. And what are some of the things that you do with your kids to kind of introduce them to your train of thought, right? Because I think school is very rigid and regimented in terms of how they teach kids. Running your own business and creating your own opportunities is really about kind of thinking outside of that box that they put you in. What are some of the things that you do with your daughter to just make sure that she gets a little bit of a taste of how you spend your days, how you work? I mean, you just mentioned that you bring her to some of the things, but what does that look like? And what are some of the key things that you reinforce at home?
Oh, she's working. She can run my co-working space with her eyes closed, honestly, at 14. And she's been able to do that at a very young age. I take her on speaking engagements. I take her on like speaking engagements locally, nationally, internationally, so she can see that journey. She's behind the scenes a lot. Like, this is something that I just wanted to ingrain in her, but I didn't want to force upon her to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, when you have a doctor, like a medical doctor as a parent, your parents are like, oh, you have to go to medical school. I never wanted to be that parent. But what I did want to teach her, I knew that she wouldn't understand my journey as a child. Like, I had chores, I had responsibility in the sense of raising my siblings underneath of me. I was like the second parent in the household. And I knew that she wouldn't be able to experience that. She is truly a spoiled brat, like literally a spoiled brat. But I knew that I could teach her hard work in a different way. Like, we have a business to run. She would go to work with my husband in his business, and his business is way more hands-on than me. But she actually enjoys being part of it. During the summer, we run a youth entrepreneurship camp we did it for a week, and then we did it for 4 weeks. And so every year I would say, hey, Ryan, what camp do you want to go to? Like, what do you want to do for the summer? Not thinking that she would say, I want to go to Camp Cube. I'm like, you want to go to camp? Like, you're here every day. She's like, absolutely. I enjoy going. So her being part of the process, I think, is extremely important because she has grown to love it and want to do it. And so last year she was a camp counselor. She's grown up to be a camp counselor now. And so just to see that, me bringing her along and being unapologetic. I know there's some places I can't take my child. Like, I get it. But for the most part, she can come, I'm rocking, she's rolling, and she's going to be learning. So she now enjoys it. It's not something that I have to force upon her. Even coming to my classes, She's very familiar with college campuses. I don't think I'll have a problem with her choosing the perfect college for her because she's been at so many. And so
your lecture, she listens to the things that you're teaching your students.
she can teach a class. Like, seriously.
She's been to that many.
I am confident that I can lead, if I can have her substitute any of my classes.
When you're teaching, right, you obviously have your students that you're focusing on, and she's there listening. Is there anything that you reinforce back at home from your teaching, or do you kind of keep that separate? Like, here, this is what I teach and this is what I do, and she's got to figure out how to put the piece of the puzzle together, or what does that look like in her world?
No, she's part of that process. She'll even ask questions like, I heard you say this in class, can you give me some more information? Like, she's that curious about things. But, I run my business a lot from home. And so if she's home, if I have to put together like handouts or packages or whatever, she's part of that learning about, one, business building, two, the Disney experience, because she knows if you ask her about the Disney experience, she will definitely tell you. And that everything is focused on how do we really focus on the customer and kind of do that whole feedback loop. So I reinforce those things at home. And I also run my house like a business, just an FYI. Like, everybody has a schedule, everybody has a job. Like, we run a tight ship around my house just to make sure things flow. But I bring those things home all the time, and she's happy to indulge. She's a teenager now, so sometimes it's a little like, I want to be on my phone, leave me alone. But for the most part, she's a pretty good kid.
So you started this business where you were making kids stuff, accessories, you had said, and it really wasn't your passion. It was more of a hobby. Where did that end up going?
Yeah, so I had like a whole operation. We traveled with this. We partnered with like Chick-fil-A. I got to a point where my grandmother was making the bowls. I was taking the orders and doing the marketing, and she was making the bowls. But again, it wasn't something that I was passionate about. As I was out selling the products, more moms were coming to me and saying, how do you start a business? And I just thought like everyone knew the steps to start a business. But what I didn't realize that just like a hairstylist or cake maker or decorator, it's a talent. Understanding the functionalities of a business and how to start is a gift and it's a talent. And so I decided that I no longer wanted to do this whole accessory thing because it wasn't something that I was passionate about. And I wanted to focus more on helping these mothers that I was engaging with that was buying my products, helping them to start businesses. And so that's kind of how I pivot into that.
And is that when Cowork started?
So the Cube started about 5 years after we started, maybe three years after we started the organization, because we were graduating these moms out of our program and they needed some way to build their business, but also childcare. That's a huge issue. You can buy a brand new car every year for the amount of childcare, right? That's insane. You're asking mothers to start businesses. You're asking them to start careers, but you're also asking them to basically take their salary and pay for childcare. It's an obstacle that we continue to face. So I wanted to create something where we only need about 3 hours of our attention to focus on work, and we can get a lot done in 3 uninterrupted hours. And so that's what I designed the Cube to be, just like your gym model. When you go drop your child off at the gym and work out for an hour, it's the same model.
So talk to me a little bit about how you procured that and what was the vision of getting there and the journey?
So I
vision is obviously you want to help these women, but what was the journey? Did you just find a spot that you were like, I am going to buy this or lease it and carve it up? And what was going on in your head at the time?
No. So actually, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just like, I got it. And my husband was like, you got what? I'm like, I am going to revolutionize the way coworking is. I'm going to be on the front of Essence. I'm going to be on the cover of Ebony. I'm just going to blow up with this idea because I truly got a good idea. And so I told him about the idea and he said, oh, that is a good idea. And so I called my sister because I thought about how we're building generational wealth and helping other people build generational wealth. And I can't preach that if I'm not doing it, right? And so I called my sister, who has no business experience, but I knew that she's a good saver and I knew she had some money. So I said, hey, I got an idea. Do you trust me? And she said, yes. And we've been talking about investing in the business. And so I pitched her the idea and she was like, okay, how much do we need? And so we both, went as house savings. I did a year of research. So I want people to know market research is exceptionally important.
Oh, yeah.
Because while my nonprofit was there, it's a nonprofit, this is a for-profit and we need to make money, okay? And I just had a big vision. And then it took us about a year to find the perfect location. It was ugly. It was only 1,200 square feet. My sister walked in and said, what the hell are we going to do with this? And I was like, I got a vision. Just believe in me. We took a lot of sweat equity to get it up to where we could open. And then right before the pandemic, someone randomly sent me a message. I thought it was spam, asking me, did I want to move into another location? And again, I ignored it. And then they, emailed me again. And I was just like, okay, let me entertain this. And so we came to see the location where we are now. We sat down before the pandemic. They said, name your price. That never happens. I just want people to know. I named my price. And then while many businesses were closing during the pandemic, we had a business model that truly was able to scale. And we were growing over the pandemic. So now we're 15,000 square feet. We have 17 offices, 3 conference rooms, and event space in the play area.
And it's all in Baltimore, or did you find yourself
all in Baltimore? We started in Baltimore County. We're now in Baltimore City. And then we're working on our next location, which will be in Atlanta.
So how many moms have you impacted in your current operation where you are right now?
Oh my goodness. We've impacted, at least 1,000 moms throughout programming, throughout events, throughout space. We've definitely impacted way over 1,000 moms in our program. Our organization is now a national organization. So we don't just support moms locally, we support moms nationally. We've been able to travel internationally, to also impact moms and tell our story, teach, and all of the things of building businesses and being unapologetic about doing it as a woman and as a mom.
That's amazing. What's your vision for Georgia, Atlanta, and where does this go? Because I've read some of your stuff, and one of the things that you talk about is more slow and steady growth as opposed to this explosive growth.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to take a look at the endeavors that you have in front of you, what's the plan?
So the plan is to open in Atlanta, to really kind of build our brand identity in Atlanta and then franchise the model. I don't desire to run my business myself for the rest of my life. That is not something that I've ever wanted to get in business to do. And so we're looking at really franchising it. We know that it worked. It worked very well. We're busting at the seams. We're actually buying the real estate. Proof of concept has concept. We in year 9. And now I think it's time for us to spread our wings, but also we get a lot of people that want to know our secret sauce. And it's just like, yeah, I can't share that, but you can definitely... You can definitely buy into the model. I'm thinking longevity. I'm thinking sleep on the beach while I make money.
That's your idea of financial freedom is the beach with a Mai Tai and a pillow and some nice breeze that comes across. You don't want to work forever.
Absolutely. And I need the island to be very small, maybe a population of like 3,000. 2 would be ideal, but
well, three. There's 3. So where's your sister play the role in all of this? Because she came in as an investor. Is she on the train taking the ride, or is she a silent investor?
She actually runs the day-to-day operations. I am rarely at the cube, which is great. She plays a very active role. She's not a silent investor at all. But I knew I needed her skills. While she doesn't have business skills, she has management skills. She has financial management skills. I knew that I needed someone that would kind of keep things in order because I am a big vision and I have my hands in a lot of different pots. And I'm not going to stop doing that. That's how I thrive. but I needed someone to make sure like, okay, we got to stay on track here. And she's that person.
We talk about family business a lot because I come from a family business as well. It's tough. How do you guys approach your relationship as sisters and relationship as business owners? What's the successful recipe that you guys have created where she knows her value prop and lane and what she does, and you know yours, and you guys are the yin to each other's yang? And how do you guys operate, as sisters and as
That's a good
successfully?
question. Respect. We respect each other, and we respect each other's roles. We respect each other's knowledge. And honestly, I'm always in the forefront, and she likes to play like the back seat of things, and I am pushing her. And so I think that she appreciates the fact that, I believe in her. Like if she says this is what it's going to be, I mean, I'm going to let her, hey, execute it. Let's see how it goes, because we know we can make some costly mistakes. But I think when it comes to us really making major decisions, we know how to sit down and kind of weigh everything out, because we also know that this business is bigger than us. It's not about us, it's about our children's children and how they're going to eat off of this. And so we have to make decisions based off of the future. But I think that respect and hard and tough conversations are important. And we know how to have that. We can sit here and battle back and forth about something. And I'll say, are we done? And she'll say, okay. And I'm like, all right, now we're sisters. Let's go and go to lunch, right? Like we know how to separate the two. And I am very big on separating relationships within, relationship. If we are business owners, let's put the business owner hat on, and then we can take that off and be sisters. And at the end of the day, she's always had my back. I can call her at any time, any day for anything, personally or professionally. And I respect that. And she respects me as well.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hardest things is emotionally, because there's so much history, right? It's not like a business partner where you may have a shorter history. There's not like, I remember what you did to me when we were 10 years old and blah, 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 blah. There's no going back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talk a lot about, just like you said, the hats, right? What hat am I wearing as a business partner? Or am I wearing the hat as my role in the business? Or am I wearing my hat as the sister, or in my case, the brother? That's a huge point that has to be differentiated in conversations, because otherwise, if you let them all mold together, it becomes an emotional fireball.
Yeah.
Have you guys been caught in emotional fireballs before?
Not really.
You stay away from it as much as possible.
Yeah, we don't really get into those. She's typically like the referee when it comes to my child and my husband. So her and I don't really get into those type of arguments or things like that. I mean, she's literally the person that everybody calls. If you want to get it done, call Keisha, right? And sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, I'm putting everything on you. We got this business, then you got to be the mediator between all of our crap that we may have going on at the moment. But we don't get into that together, honestly. We have probably had one true, very tough conversation as business owners. And that was in the beginning. And that was because I think without the experience she had as a business owner, she just didn't know kind of how to navigate all of these things. But because I've done this a few times, I knew that, as we go along, you will learn. You ask me something sometimes around here, Bobby, I'd be like, I don't know. You have to ask Keisha, because I have no clue of what you're talking about right now. And I enjoy not knowing, actually. I don't even want to know.
Are you the oldest?
No, she's the oldest.
She's the oldest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you have other siblings? Are they in the business? Do they look at your relationship differently than they look at the relationship you have with them, or?
Not really. My baby sister actually works here. She's been working here on and off as she goes to college. I mean, we all have our different relationships with each other. There's a gap. So it's like, I'm not partying with my baby sister who's 25. I'm not doing that, right? So we just have a different type of relationship with each one of the siblings and how we just respect that. And everyone knows, like I said, we all go to my older sister for anything. So she's like the mother. So she knows her role.
Yeah, it's funny. My sisters are 12 and 14 years older. So I get that gap thing.
Younger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, younger. Did I say older? I meant younger. I'm older than them by 12 and 14 years.
But
So I
they're
get
probably
that.
the oldest they're the oldest sibling in reality.
I'm 46. The youngest of them all is, what does that make her, 32? She's just had her second kid. I have three
Okay.
kids. So it's funny to see how they're in this now environment that they used to be like, oh yeah, it's so hard with the kids. Okay. And now they're like, oh shit, it's really hard with kids. Oh my God, it's even harder with 2 kids. Wait, how the hell do you do 3 kids? I get to watch, I get a different vantage point, and I get to watch it as they go through it. And I don't comment because I just enjoy them going through their own process with their own. And I just say, hey, listen, wherever I can help, or, my wife is the same way. Brooke's like, you need help. We can come and help. Drop the kids over, whatever. We'll watch them because it is a difficult time of life. And seeing that gap, I mean, I'm sure you appreciate some of the things that she's going through with a different lens, and you look at it and you go, yeah, I'm not partying with you, but I know where you're at. And
Correct. Yeah, they're like, are you coming out? Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
So you have an even bigger vision for Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about what your vision is and how you think the greater impact is that you can bring to the community that you came from.
So my big vision for Baltimore is truly to have thriving business districts, and specifically thriving Black business districts. It's something that, was huge in the 1920s and the 1930s during the Harlem Renaissance, and honestly, a lot of rich history in Baltimore, from a lot of the creatives, the singers, the performers from the Harlem Renaissance spent a lot of time in Baltimore, and people don't really know that. But growing up, I used to walk in my community, and most of the businesses were owned by people in my community that look like me. And so there was a huge shift, maybe like 15, 20 years ago, where those things no longer existed. And so I ride around Baltimore a lot as I'm driving to different things, and I just see the infrastructure that used to be there. Like you can see like, oh, this used to be a hardware store, or this used to be this type of store. And I really have a vision of bringing those type of things back into Baltimore. We know small businesses are the economic engines of our communities, and yet small businesses typically, especially in underserved communities, don't get the access to resources. And so if I can bring that in any type of way, I'm going to do that. One is investing in people. 2 is investing in real estate. And 3 is really that advocacy and policy piece, which I do a lot of. And so that's kind of how I'm trying to bring these things together.
Are you involved in the planning boards and the government? Is that kind of your role, or you do that through your nonprofit? Or
Yeah, I sit on a lot of boards. I am in a lot of rooms where my mouth is the biggest sometimes, and I'm okay with that. There's a lot of accountability, but it's truly for the betterment of the people and not for myself, right? I tell people all the time, I got 3 business degrees that can make me a lot of money, trust me, and experience and a brain that people just cannot pay for. But my true passion and purpose in life is to impact my community. And so that's what I do. I mean, I've testified in front of Congress on issues around small businesses. I've testified in local government, helped to really create policy and talk to policy leaders and build those relationships so that they can see, hey, this is actually, I'm not making this up. Here's the data. Here's the proof that these type of things are needed in order to change our community.
you mentioned a lot of these small businesses, and I don't want to make the assumption, but like I question you, is it because they just failed, or did big box kind of retailers come and take their place? What does the facade look like now? Is it failed businesses, or is it, CVS's and Walgreens and things that are bigger box?
Well, I think it's failed businesses because of the lack of investment in those communities. There's a lot of blight in Baltimore City. And so you can't have thriving businesses and communities that have a lot of blight. Like, people are not going to live there. Affordable housing, we don't understand how everything kind of impacts everything, right? Like, affordable housing is going to impact small businesses. The actual, pay that people are receiving, the minimum wage is going to impact whether I can afford a house and whether I can support a small business. So I won't necessarily say that big box businesses impacted our community. I would say the lack of investment in our communities in multiple ways impacted small businesses and how they could actually grow and see themselves in these communities.
So what do you think is going to be the biggest catalyst to get you out of that kind of sludge of there's so many variables and we've got to make sure that we're kind of plucking at all of these things simultaneously or in some logical order in order to get that momentum? What do you think is going to be the catalyst to get you out of that sludge and get that community thriving and in the right position to succeed?
There's multiple things, but I think one of the major things is group economics and truly understanding how we bring our resources together to build together, right? Like, you can't have one person trying to rebuild from a real estate point of view, rebuild like a community, right? You need multiple people to be able to do that. You need multiple people to invest in businesses. You need multiple people to actually start businesses. And so I think that is going to take this idea of group economics and how we actually invest and bring our power together from an economic standpoint to build together. And that goes in changing the mindset, right? You have people that want to build wealth, but they're very selfish about building their wealth, right? Like, I want what I want. I'm going to take as much as I can. And then you have those that say, no, we have to open these opportunities to a community, or we have to figure out how do we bring other people along. And it's going to be those that desire to bring people along, which is going to be the catalyst of changing our communities.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at some of the things that they've put into place, like the opportunity zones and just even the changing of the waterfront from, a more depressed over here in like Jersey City and along the coastline, a depressed area to now a untouchable area, and everything's so expensive. I guess the trick is, how do you do that while the community benefits, as opposed to doing that and then just displacing the community because they no longer can live where they grew up?
Yep. And it's going to take people like me to voice those things, right? To be strong. I remember young, like probably still in college, attending community planning meetings, right? And they had this old plan that they've been planning for like decades pre-being that they're still working on. And I watched the people that were a little bit younger that was advocating for some change. And it's going to take a lot of, people to think that way. And it's hard. It's hard when you have systemic issues that have been around for generation to generation and kind of changing those things. And I think that we as individuals have to understand, what is the bigger picture here? We have someone now that, is investing in Baltimore's waterfront, who I actually think has a really great, good vision for it, but there's some apprehension to it. There are people that's just like, oh, we don't need any more condos, or we don't need any more this. But they don't understand that in order for businesses to be placed in these communities, people have to actually go and support these businesses to sustain, or it's going to be a cycle. And so that means you do have to add more residential spaces so that people can live and support where it is that they work. I think the biggest issue that Baltimore has is really overcoming the negative brand that we have when it comes to crime and things like that. And so we have to figure out, how do we rebrand our city so that people actually want to move and live and thrive in our city.
Yeah, I mean, I know New York had a huge problem with that in the 70s, right? 60s and 70s. It was a terrible place to be. And it took them 20 years to kind of kind of break out of that. But what are the elements that you think can really change the reputation of Baltimore? What's
I think the
working
messaging.
right now, or
Well, one, I
what is
think that
everybody working on right now to get that done?
well, they're working on a few things. I do think that our mayor in Baltimore is really truly trying to change the message by focusing on the youth, which are the ones that are committing most of the crimes in Baltimore. But I know for me, when I used to travel places, the first thing that people used to say when I said I'm from Baltimore, oh, the wire, right? And so it was just like the wire defined what Baltimore was. And that truly wasn't like growing up then when the wire was actually created. That was the best time to live in Baltimore. I could travel morning, noon, and night around Baltimore by myself, and I felt extremely safe. Like there
That
was
show
no
did not
safety
leave you with the
concern.
feeling that that was possible.
Correct. That show did not leave you with that at all. And so I think we have to figure out like how do we change that narrative? People don't say that as much anymore because I think the younger kid, like the younger generation, they don't know what the wire is. But my generation, when I would travel, oh, you're from the wire, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, that's not what it is, honestly. And so I think we have to do a better job with rebranding our city and showing all of the potential. Because Baltimore is a beautiful place. I'm telling you, it gives you grit, definitely teach you how to persevere, right? But greatness comes out of Baltimore. I am truly from West Baltimore, and I am a doctor who is a professor and growing a successful business. But we don't talk about those stories. And we have to tell those stories a little bit better for people to say, oh, I think I can live there. I think I can thrive there.
Well, especially with somebody like you need multiple yous to bring influence and bring, a change of that mindset and that mentality. So this way people realize that, hey, I don't have to be confined to my existing life. I can break out. I think the hardest part is that mindset. It's that, that's separating yourself. One of the things is that somebody told me is if you want to do something and you want to get something done, don't tell anybody because you're going to open yourself up to criticism and they're going to start to give you their points of view and why you shouldn't do it or what's going to hold you back. And I think a lot of people find themselves in this situation because there's two schools of thought, right? Tell somebody so that there's a way you become accountable and then you have to do it because if you don't, then you're going against your word. But then what's all the other crap that comes along with sharing what it is that you're trying to do and, who's standing there really kind of pulling you down to keep you where you are because that's their comfortable space of.
Yep, absolutely. I 100% agree with that.
So mom entrepreneurs, big passion for you. Baltimore, a big passion for you. If there was one thing that you would want your daughter to tell her kids about, what would be the message of grandma?
Bobby, that's a good question. I would want my daughter to tell her daughter or her kids, period, that, your grandmother was truly a woman who did not live the status quo and did not believe that people should live the status quo. And if there was a box, she was definitely stepping outside of it because the sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. You can do anything that you put your mind to. Like the craziest thought, go for it. Like literally go for it. Reach for whatever you want to because people are going to tell you what you can't do, why you can't do them. And you have to show them that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And I try to ingrate that into my daughter. Like, girl, do whatever you want to do. Like, if you want to go to school and study how to build a circus, like, absolutely do that. Like, do it, but do it well and be committed to it.
Yeah. And I think that is the journey. The journey is go for it, give it your best, be aware that when things change, right? Because facts change, the environment changes, that you understand how to adapt. And even if you fail, you learn along the way of what maybe that next iteration or that next project or that next endeavor, and it becomes not so scary. Yep. You get through one and the next one, not so scary. And the next one, it's exciting. And then all of a sudden it becomes, this is an exciting lifestyle to be that open, that free. And to your point, it's not that you started with, it's not always about the money. It's about the freedom to do what it is that you want to do, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it, right?
If that's the worst thing that can happen, why not go for it?
Amen to
And that's
that.
how I feel.
Amen to that. Well, I appreciated this conversation. I think that's a great place to end off. I think that you have an amazing story and an amazing heart. I mean, this does not come from your desire to be the richest person on the block. It really is about giving back to the community. So if we have people who are listening who are saying, hey, listen, I want to learn about your platform and what you are doing at the Cube. I want to learn about your involvement in Baltimore. How can I get involved? How can I change my community? What are the classes that you teach and want to learn more about just your mindset? Where do they go to find that out?
So you can follow me on all social media at the business DR. So the business doctor, but not doctor spelled out, just DR. Or you can go to my website, tammiralucas.com. I have a cool series that I do on Instagram called Couch Talk. And so I bring all of the things that you want to talk about to a cozy couch in a very quick segment. It is not a podcast because people keep asking me, is it a podcast? And it's not. So just go to my website or, connect with me on Instagram. I spend a lot of time on Instagram. So at the business DR.
So I lied. That's not where we're going to end because I do want to ask you a question around, because you have about 40,000 followers, right?
No, I don't have 40,000 followers. Not yet. Actually, after this recording, maybe
you have about 12,000 followers.
Yes.
It's still a tremendous amount of followers, right? So you have about 12,000 followers and you're doing your own personal branding around this. What's been the journey toward that as one of your endeavors?
Being authentic. I wanted to build an authentic brand that really truly reflects who I am, but also, provides the ability to educate and inform my audience. We are truly influenced by social media, and I think it takes individuals like me to share really good, truthful information that people can learn from, and they can get an authentic view of that, right? So you may see me being a mom. I love fashion, so you're going to see my outfits.
Oh, I've seen them.
You're going to see my journey as an entrepreneur, and I'm going to educate you while I'm doing it. I'm never going to share what I don't know. Like, I'm not going to share things that aren't true. I'm going to do my research and then provide that information. And so that's what I built my brand on, is truly like being authentic in whatever it is that I want to do and being consistent. And I got to love what I'm doing, and it can't feel like work in order for me to be consistent.
How long ago did you really start on being consistent through social media and making sure you're getting your message out?
Oh, that's actually a good question. I don't even know when I started that. I do know like my Couch Talk series started last year. And that's something that I've been working on for a while because I knew I didn't want to do a podcast. My ADHD doesn't allow me to do things that long. But I knew I wanted to be able to share bite-sized information to an audience. And so we had been working on that for a while, maybe like 2 years, on what could we actually do. And it wasn't until we put out a family Christmas video that was kind of mimicking Home Alone. And it went viral. And so it was just like, okay, now you got to do it because people are bought in to you.
So that was the launching point. You went viral on a Christmas video,
yes.
And you're like, okay, I'm committed. I'm going to do this now. Where do you get your inspiration from? You think about something and just, in the middle of the night, you wake up your husband and you go, I'm going to do a video on this. Or
my crazy family. We truly need a reality show. Like, you wouldn't believe half of the stuff that goes on in my house, or the things that are said, or the things in my classroom. I promise you, we need a reality show. And so I get inspiration from my crazy family. I truly do.
You throw it out to the universe, and the universe has a really weird way of sometimes responding. Are you ready for a reality show?
I'm actually ready for a reality show. We've had a few production companies follow me on different projects, and I didn't know how my family would react. It was normal to them. And so, hey, if you want a good show, call me.
We had Michael Gray on with Relentless Films, and he does movies. Maybe that's, his next project.
Tell him, come visit me.
So this has been awesome. We're going to edit it, accordingly. So this way everything kind of flows together and fits. But is there anything that I missed that you want to make sure we kind of jump back into to discuss?
No, I think you covered everything. Yeah. One of the things that I don't think I talked about a little bit is the experience in my classroom, and how that kind of translates to everything that I do. And I just want to say, as a professor, it's truly important for me to give my students like an authentic experience, right? Not, hey, I'm the professor, so listen to me, but more of, hey, let's learn and let's learn together, but also let's have fun. Because I can't be a dry professor. Like, that doesn't really fit my lifestyle.
So do you bring your ideas to the classroom and say, hey, this is what I'm working on right now? Why don't you guys break into, I don't know, groups of 3 and come up with your best solution and pitch it to me? Do you use them in that fashion to kind of like expand their mindset to how they think about problems and then use it back in your own business?
I absolutely use my problems in the classroom to get my students to solve it, because one, it gives them that real world application, and it takes them beyond the actual book of things, and it frees my brain up sometimes, and it gives me new fresh ideas, because the way that they think is totally different than the way that I think. And I think it's truly cool to see them like trying to fix a problem, like a real world problem that I'm having.
We have a client over on the Greenridge side, very interesting scenario where they are teachers, professors, and they have a business because there was this extreme need for this one little niche. And they came together and they said, you know what, we're going to try to fit this need. And it's really for a good cause. And they actually have students that go through their program that they bring in to then work in the business because they show interest. Do you look at any of your students and say, hey, I want to either bring you into my business, or I want to support what it is you're doing or help you to go to that next level? Have you experienced any of that through your time in teaching?
All the time. Some of my students think that they are my kids at some point, and so they will get on my nerves until I actually help them, or they will stay around. But what I've started to implement is that now they're working. Well, I have interns who are my students working inside of my company. So really give them, some experience that they need. A lot of students don't get that opportunity to have like rich internships. So I really try to provide that. But also, I encourage them to like, let's share your idea or let's share your business and let's work on it collectively as a class so that we can help you. Like, I think that's what your college experience should be about, especially if you're studying business. Like, you need to use that as your consultant, right? Like your professors and things like that. And it can be overwhelming sometimes, but I truly try to create opportunities and experiences for the students to thrive and let them know that I care. Because if my professors didn't care, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
That's awesome. We had a guest, Jahan Ansari, who is the CEO of Gainful, which is the supplement company. And his business partner was a buddy of his from high school. And they went to separate colleges. I think the partner went to Stanford and he went to Georgetown. Is that right? Anyway, the whole point of the story was they submitted the idea for Gainful to this entrepreneurial club and they ended up winning. It was a contest. And they took it from idea to inception because of the support the partner had received to push it, outside of just the here's your project for for a contest into real world application. It's turned out to be a huge business for them, and to bring that to your students, I'm sure you'll have a couple of success stories that'll come back.
Yeah, they're going to make me rich, and I can't wait because they know they're going to give me 10%.
You got to write that into their syllabus. Any 10%. Ideas come with a 10% advisory fig to the to the professor that's encouraged and led the charge forward. You're doing a lot with this couch talk, right?
Yes.
Are you monetizing it? How are you using it as part of your business?
So we're working on the monetization of it. We've had Microsoft to sponsor a segment when we went to Essence Fest and did our couch talk. And so we're in talks. and working on monetizing it. The goal is, to really build a community and then, implement our strategy to monetize it. So absolutely, I have fun doing it. My producer has fun putting me in different characters. If you all can see, he has definitely upgraded how he placed me in different characters. And,
I love the red outfit. The red outfit was, I think, my favorite.
Yeah, I can't wait to wear that. I think I'm going to wear that this weekend, actually. It's one of my favorites. Call it the Missy Elliott.
The Missy Elliott? I was thinking like a halftime show. You were definitely walking out with that thing on. And I mean, that thing had its, had an attitude. It definitely had its own personality.
Well, thank you. I take pride in that.
I saw that and I go, all right, this woman, she knows how to have some fun. We're going to have a good time here.
Yes. And we did have a good time. So hopefully your audience loves this.
I loved it. I thought it was great. And, as I'm asking questions and you're answering them, I see a lot of head nodding and smiles. And I think your story went over real well with the couple people that are in the studio today. So I appreciate you sharing and being honest. And this was a lot of fun for me.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. I appreciate you all. And I can't wait to listen to the episode.